Hey everybody, Hollywood Pizza here, and I hope you're ready for some spoilers. I actually wasn't really ready for this today myself. I knew that this set was a thing, but all of a sudden, HamHocks hit me up earlier today and was like, there's like 1,000 cards that literally just got spoiled. So we have to dive in here and take a look. And of course, we're talking about Commander Legends, Dungeons and Dragons, Battle for Baldur's Gate. So this is a Commander D&D themed set that is also going to be legal in Legacy and Vintage. There's a lot of cards here, so we may as well start to dive right into it. For any of HamHocks content, you can definitely find that in the description below. Ham, you want to tell us about your content and
Yeah,
kind of talk to us about the set a little bit here?
absolutely. So you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/HamHocks42. We build all kinds of weird, janky brews and just have a good time. And I'm also on YouTube as well. I have my own channel, HamHocks42 over there as well, where we do some deck techs as well as like individual card deep dives or combo explanations, those kinds of things. So if you're a newer player to the game and you want to see kind of the weird side of Magic and learn a little bit along the way, I got you. That is really what I strive to do every day on those channels. And when it comes to the Battle for Baldur's Gate, I too really wasn't ready for the spoilers today. I'll be honest. I was just kind of like scrolling through Twitter and somebody posted a new card I hadn't seen before. I was like, wait a minute. And then I hit the page, I hit the main page and I was like, oh snap! Like because I knew spoiler season was coming up. I didn't realize it kicked off today. So or at the very least, Weekly MTG gave us a huge dump of cards, and so I'm definitely looking forward to talking about that.
The
I have
magic
mixed
machine, Ham. The magic machine is
the machine,
grinding.
then it never ends.
It just never ends. More
Never ends.
cards.
But I find it fascinating too because the way that I play and my approach to Commander is I play with the cards I already own. I have a lot of slush lying around from like my years of playing the game. And so what I generally do is I'll find a commander that I want to build and maybe I'll trade for them or I might buy them online. But then I just go through my boxes and find whatever weird things I can put together. And my decks aren't optimized, but you see some weird cards that maybe you haven't seen before. And I enjoy that part of the game. I like the idea of building with cards you already own. Whereas obviously this is a set that is designed to produce interesting moments at the commander table. That's the whole point. And so the cards are built with that in mind. Very different mindset than the way that I approach commander.
Oh
That
yeah.
said, there's just some cool stuff and you can do some very interesting things and some cool combos and interactions to be had, which ultimately is what commander is all about for anybody, whether you're playing at a competitive table, casual table, whether you're playing with stuff that you've got, in your, that you pulled out of your sock drawer, or playing with a $200 deck that, you tuned up, or $2,000 deck that you really tuned up and dialed in. Um, at the end of the day, we all want to see big explosive moments and have fun with our friends, right? That's the idea.
We want to
And
feel magic. We want
we want to,
to
yes,
get the most that we can out of magic, right? Because
absolutely.
when we're playing limited, when we're playing, competitive tournament type magic, standard, any of these constructed formats, like you actually see so much repetition of the game. And I'm actually going to be honest, it's actually rare you actually get to see something cool, right?
Hmm.
Just because the decks are so tuned, all your creatures are getting hit by removal spells, or
Hmm.
you're just trying to kill your opponent as fast as you can, or you're just playing some planeswalkers, and we're just uptaking and getting value every single turn, and that's kind of all that really happens. Whereas Commander, you're like, oh look, I do this crazy combo with like World Gorger Dragon, and now no one has any permanence, and or we're kind of like setting the world again, and things keep coming back, and we're just doing like these weird things that aren't doesn't feel like normal magic, right?
Right.
It's not just like, oh, I attack with my creatures and they die, and oh, you got planeswalkers. It's
Hmm.
more like, yeah, I just make the game unplayable. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I just make this board state just like really crazy. And it's also like very political, right? Like
Hmm.
Commander can really be very like, ooh, let's team up on this person who has this really powerful deck, or oh, let's, maybe I can get my opponents to do this one thing I really need them to do so that I can start to get ahead and win. And it's just a really, it's been a long time since I played Commander.
Hmm.
Most of my decks are kind of like, I kind of just am all over the place. Like I went from My first commander deck was the Rakdos leader. I'm so
Okay,
sorry, I can't remember what his name is right now.
no worries. It wouldn't
The
happen to be Rakdos the demon, would it?
no, it's
Oh, okay.
it's
That would
something
have been too easy.
Defiler. I can't remember what it's called, but I used to play. It was red black, so I used to play that, and then I went to Geth. Geth was also one of my first commanders as well. But then I moved into what I like to play, which is green. I went into Omnath, and then we went into like Ailey and like just other weird stuff. I had
Mm.
a Scion of the Dragon deck at one
Ha!
point.
Nice.
Um, uh, Uriel the Miststalker. I've kind of just been all over the place, so I've like explored the format to a certain degree. I enjoy it a lot, but there's definitely some times where I definitely get into that commander mindset where I'm like, oh, I really wish my opponent wasn't playing Iona because I'm playing a
Hmm.
monocolored deck, so I have to hit one of my like 4 cards that could kill it, or else I'm locked out of the game and the other 3 people are going to kill me, which makes the game very unfun. So there is a lot that comes with EDH.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna call it EDH because I'm a little old school myself, but
Nothing wrong with that.
there's a lot that comes with EDH, and you're right, it's enjoyable for everyone. You know, that's what you want it to be. You want to see these big splashy things, and you kind of want to see everyone have fun with it overall. And even though I don't really get to play as much EDH myself, in this set for me, I'm more excited because the cards are playable in Legacy and Vintage, so I kind of get to see what broken cards they printed for older formats like that. So that's at least the enjoyment that I got out of this set. In terms of Commander in general, I just really, really love it. When I do get to play it.
Hmm. Absolutely. No, it's delightful. And so it'll be interesting to take a look at some of these cards. We're obviously not going to touch on all of them because they did drop. I mean, I didn't see the full
It's
number,
literally
but
like 100 cards or more.
it,
Like
yeah, it's about
I
100
don't
cards.
even know. Like it's just so like Ham was like, "Oh, have you not looked at any of the cards?" And I was like, "Oh." And while he was explaining to me, I was like, "Wow, I haven't stopped scrolling yet."
Right.
I was like, "Did
No,
they
it's
just dump the whole set? Is this the whole
yeah.
set? No, not the whole set. Okay, wow."
No. We still have quite a bit more. Um
Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty crazy. So we are going to touch on some of the highlights, some of the points, and we have handpicked a couple of cards that we do want to talk about. To be fair, I want to point out, I haven't read all of the cards either at this point. There are literally 92 of these things. I just, that have been spoiled. I have not seen every single one of them. I have not read every single one of them. So we may be missing some key pieces, but we can always come back. And actually, one thing we would love it if there are individual cards that you're excited about that have been spoiled so far. By the time you're watching this, maybe they haven't even been spoiled as we're recording this. Leave those in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you've got to say about this set. And, please just, engage. And while you're down there, go ahead and give a like and hit that sub button. We appreciate it very, very much.
definitely. Yeah, really would enjoy the comment section with just some more feedback overall on this
Hmm.
card, just because like just like Ham said, it's our first time. Ham's coming in as like I like a lot of Magic cards. I'm coming in as I need to win tomorrow, today, right now. Yesterday I needed to win.
Hmm.
I'm very competitive, so you're getting the best of both worlds pretty much. Um, I miss hearsay myself just because we kind of always nice having even more of an input from it, right? Where he kind of has
Absolutely.
both of kind of like what we give, and you can even give a different view. But gonna be fun to go over all these cards here with you today. So the first card that we're actually gonna go over is called Merkel, Lord of Bones. If HamHocks hadn't said that, I'm not sure if I would have been able to say the name right on this card. 4 colorless, white, black, green for a 7/5 legendary creature. It's a god. As long as your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, Merkel, Lord of Bones, has indestructible. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token copy. Create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's an enchantment, and loses all other card types. All right.
Yeah.
So the mouthfuls begin.
Indeed, this is a great example. So there are a couple of things about this card that I absolutely adore. And this is a great example of a card that is clearly designed for Commander that is just doing a lot of weird stuff. So the indestructible, if your life total is less than your starting or less than half of your starting life total, all right, that's neat. I'm not mad at that. But that's not the reason that I like this card. A couple things about this card I really enjoy. One that I would be remiss if I didn't mention. It has 7 power. And in Commander, there is commander damage where you can kill somebody by dealing 21 damage with your commander. The difference between 6 power and 7 power on your commander is huge because that's the difference between 4 hits and 3 hits to deal that necessary 21. So Merkel can deliver 3 blows and knock an opponent out of the game, which is neat. However, Merkel doesn't have any evasion. So the chance of that still happening fairly low because it's going to be very late in the game before they come online. The part about this card that I absolutely adore is the ability of whenever a non-token creature dies, you may exile. You don't have to, but you can. And then if you do, it comes back as an enchantment that's kind of a copy of its former self, but it's no longer a creature. Like the first thing that I thought of with this is what if like we got a Marin of Clan Nel Toss to come back as a enchantment. Then all of a sudden you're still gaining the experience counters, you're still cheating stuff out of your graveyard. You get all of the abilities of Marin now as an enchantment that's even harder to remove. Like that's sweet. That's only one example. There are, I mean, any creature with a cool ability on it can come back. The other cool thing about that, though, the other thing I love is the balance associated with that. Because once that enchantment's on the board, if it gets knocked out, that creature is in exile and the enchantment's a token. So it disappears immediately and it's gone for good. So there's a risk with Merkel too. If you do this, if you take advantage of that ability and get these these enchantments that were never intended to be enchantments when they were designed, you get some cool effects. But if your opponents can deal with it, I mean, there are cards like Heliod's Intervention, Primeval Light, Tranquility. They're
No,
like
man, Cyclonic Rift. Come on.
Psychotic, classic, yeah.
Classic. In my head, you were like, you started to talk about that, and I'm like, all right, so maybe I don't want to play this card because of Cyclonic Rift. It's like, oh, look at all my tokens. Oh no, they're going back to my hand. It's like,
and all your creatures are in exile, so you just don't get them back ever again, and it's all so. And the other thing is interesting. I find that
I like this card a lot, though. I'm a big fan of this card.
It's a cool idea. It's a cool design, I think. And the other neat thing about that specifically in Abzan, whenever you get black and green together, you want to be putting stuff into your graveyard and pulling it out. The fact that Merkel kind of works around that and doesn't go in, the creatures just don't stay in the graveyard at all, I think is an interesting design space because it's, but you almost want to, I mean, with creatures with good enter the battlefield triggers, you might still want to use it in a reanimator style shell to just get those ETBs again. I don't know. It's the design space is rife here, and it's in Abzan, so we have white, black, and green. That's a lot of really cool creatures that we have access to.
Yeah, when I saw this, I mean, listen, when I hear enchantment, I'm like Starfield Nyx. I freaking love that card. That's like one of my favorite cards ever.
Nice.
I think that this card's kind of interesting. So to me, when I read this card, like, you need creatures to use that second ability. And on top of that, it gets indestructible. So it's like this really weird, like, Megazord card, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're right, it kills in 3 hits. So you almost want this card to be like its own finisher. But then on top of that, you also need creatures to turn into enchantments. So then that almost leads you to want to have cards like I mentioned, like a Starfield, or other cards that kind of like can kill your opponent by just having lots of enchantments out, or obviously having like big payoffs. Sarah's Sanctuary, I believe, is the one that's like the Tolarian Academy for white. Sorry if I get that wrong, YouTube, but yeah, I mean, this card is going to be interesting to see how the decks are built for it, because there's a lot of different ways that you could build it. I like it though.
Yeah, I think it's neat. It's a cool design.
All right, so next card. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm a sucker for Abzan commanders. It's kind of my favorite.
Yeah, that's true. Abzan's nice, right? You get your reanimator, and you also get access to kind of just being able to blow anything up in the format.
Mm-hmm.
Which
it's like, I get reanimator, but I also get Lurrus and Sun Titan. Yes, let's go. Yeah, I'm a fan.
So we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next card here. We have Shameless Charlatan.
Yes.
So a colorless and a blue for legendary enchantment. It's a background. So before we even talk about what the card does, Hammer, let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. we don't want to let everyone forget about the background here. What do
Indeed.
you think of the new ability? Explain that to the fine folks who are watching this video, and then tell us what you think of background overall.
Sure. So, what backgrounds are enchantments that coexist alongside commanders that are allowed to have a background. And what they're designed to, the flavor of them is that they are the history of your character. They're the background that the character came from. And so the idea of, I mean, in Dungeons and Dragons, storytelling is kind of the main driver of the entire game. And so what you want to do is whenever you're building a character, you come up with their background. And so now we have backgrounds as cards in Magic, and they are enchantments that you can play them out, enter the battlefield, and they will grant your commanders certain abilities based on their background. Is the idea anyway? And they live in the command zone alongside the commander, so they almost function like partners, but not quite. They're slightly different because you can't just. My understanding of this is that only certain commanders can have backgrounds. They specifically say choose a background on them.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that
Uh,
before
yeah, so
on
there
these.
are certain ones that kind of like partner with backgrounds, if you will. But I believe you can select any background. I don't know that you're locked to the color. To be honest, I don't. I need to look that up. Um,
Yeah, it probably
but
has to be
yeah,
like on identity. I don't, but just because your lands can't ever really tap for that color, from my understanding. So,
yeah. So actually, you know what? I don't know
not
if
sure.
the I believe the background does actually add the color. I believe it adds the color, but I could be wrong on that. So, but in any case,
Oh, I
it's
see
the
what you
background of
mean. Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
it's the background of the commander. And so, in the case of Shameless Charlatan, I thought this was a very interesting one because it seems to be one of the more powerful ones in my opinion, um, and it's kind of I don't know. It's just neat. It's a legendary enchantment for 1 in a blue. Again, this is coming out of your command zones. You have this effectively in your starting hand. And it says commander creatures you own have pay 2 into blue. This creature becomes a copy of another target creature. There is no limitation on what target it can copy. It doesn't have to be a non-legendary creature. It doesn't have to be a creature you control.
It's not
It can be
non-rogue.
right. So the idea is like, oh, so my commander in their past was a master of disguise and could be like assume the identity of other people. It's kind of the idea. And that's like okay, it's kind of that's a cool skill to have if you're a rogue type character. Um and that's kind of embodied in this card. So I think it's neat. I think it's a cool thing.
Yeah. Gonna be interesting to see what it does. I mean, you can have. I'm not sure what other background cards we have. We're probably gonna get into some here a little bit, but it is a powerful effect, especially like let's say your commander isn't crazy powerful. You can actually kind of turn your commander into your opponents and then maybe start to use what they're doing in your kind of synergies. So
Mhm.
it's an interesting card. I like it. I can see this being in like, just another like copy type deck. Kind of just fills in that role where you can always keep turning your creature into the next best thing.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So, yeah, interesting card. We'll see what effects these backgrounds have on commander. The fact that we're kind of adding more commanders to the command zone is interesting.
Yeah.
As a constructed player, well, you know, competitive format player, I feel like anytime we start to add some more cards to exile, I'm not sure. But, it'll be interesting. It adds more flavor, like you're saying, like the idea behind, the background, as you will, on these is that you're adding more flavor to your commander, you're adding more synergy to your deck, so it makes you want to be more committed to that strategy, right?
Right.
So maybe, it ends up being just more of like the super fun ability that adds more to the game.
Yeah, potentially. The one point that I want to make, so if I may editorialize for just a moment, one of the things about Commander that makes it such a special format is that it's a high variance format. It is 100 card singleton, so the whole idea of the format, at least I believe, upon its inception. Now, I wasn't there, but I'm pretty sure the idea behind it was every game plays out differently. And the whole point is that you're going to be drawing different cards every single game because your deck is just so freaking huge. It's just how it works. With the popularity of tutors, we've kind of seen that kind of fall off already. And to be honest, I don't love tutor effects in Commander for that reason. I'm not like calling for a ban or anything, but when I sit down at a table and somebody's like, turn 2 demonic tutor into, you know, suspend my profane tutor or whatever, it's like, really? Like, you're just gonna find your combo? It feels bad in my opinion. And here we are in a situation where we're putting more stuff in your opening hand effectively by putting more cards in the command zone. And I don't know why we need to have so many cards in the command zone. Why can't we just pick one legendary creature and let that be it and then work around the
Yeah,
rest of the deck? And it's just my own personal opinion. We'll see how the backgrounds actually play. I might be like just being an old man who's shouting at clouds here, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this. It's like, do we really need them? I don't know.
I'm telling you, as someone that dealt with a lot from. So we talked about off screen, we talked about Yorion and Luris, and when we added more cards to your opening hand, it's like a problem, right? Because you're right, you're getting rid of so much variance because your games look more the same. A
Hmm.
lot more of your commander games are going to start to look the same because you're like, all right, go get my commander. Okay, we got the background, so we can get the background. Now we have all that set up. You already have that in your opening hand. It's in the exile. I mean, Luris. We already have Luris in my opening hand, right? Why?
I'm so glad they
Right?
eroded companions. It's a whole other
Like,
topic, but oh my goodness.
I listen. We're kind of getting into like a crazy topic overall, just because there's probably a
Sure.
lot of opinions on background. Um, it's cool that we're going into more of the design space of exile, but at the same time, I'm not sure if that's what more of what commander wants, right? Like you're saying, I don't know if we just want more of the same games or we just want more cards that players are starting with. So what ends up happening is that we're almost in the companion part of it where if you're not playing companions, your deck's not really that good because you don't have access to this extra card at any point in the game. Even
Hmm.
if it's paying 3 mana and putting it into your hand, it's still good, right? Because still have things to sink your mana into, and then now you have the card so you can play it and use its value to the maximum effect. So yeah, like, does everyone start playing backgrounds? Are the commanders that make background good enough? We don't know yet. But it really could put people who aren't playing backgrounds at a disadvantage.
Well, and we saw that with the partner commanders. Like when partners first came out, it was like, I mean, look up Thrasios right now, and like that card is worth like $100 or something gnarly like that because the card is just so powerful. And when you can
Mm-hmm.
combine it with any of the other partner commanders, it's just busted. Like all of a sudden I get access to 4 colors for my entire deck, and I have 2 potential combo pieces just sitting in my command zone. Get out of here. That's insane. And looking at the partner commanders on the original partner commanders, that is, I know in the last Commander Legends there were more partner commanders as well, and I think they dialed the power level down dramatically on those, which is exactly what they needed. Um, and they weren't too bad. Like none of those were. There wasn't a Thrasios in that mix, unless I'm mistaken. If I am, again, comment section below, please let me know. But the uh the original partner commanders, like, they were just the best. Like it was just, there was no reason not to run them if your goal was to have a very powerful deck. It
Mm-hmm.
was just, yeah, it was they were the best. And so I think,
More
and on their
options
face, they
means more
none
power,
of the individual
HamHocks.
cards looked that great. Yeah.
That's magic. More options means more power. That's
Hmm.
magic. You want to talk about the best thing you could do in magic is draw cards because you just have more cards, more power. Just you're eventually if you grind your opponent out, they're just gonna run out of cards. But if you just keep getting cards, then it doesn't really matter what your opponent keeps doing because you'll just keep stopping them, right? You'll have counters for them. So just the fact that you have 9 cards
Yeah.
in your opening hand is pretty crazy. Or if
Yep.
you're, I mean, this has already happened for commanders, so maybe it's not anything different. You and me kind of just slightly on the outside looking in, so maybe we're overreacting a little bit, but yeah, companions was messed up.
It was. Yeah. It
That's
was.
you know, having access to more cards in the side could end up being really powerful.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Our next card here is an interesting one. So we have Jahira's. Sorry if I'm saying this wrong.
I think that's
Respite.
how I would have done it.
4 colorless and a green instant. Search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the number of creatures attacking you. Put those cards onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn. So, green, settle, but it's opposite.
Kinda, yeah.
Essentially, you're fogging. Let's say your opponent's like, oh yeah, you know, man, I've been trying to set up my Kiki Jiki combo, and oh yeah, you're so you want me to play it all? Play it all, play it all. And then they're like, attack it with a billion cards. And you're like, all right, prevent all damage, get all the lands out of my deck.
Exactly.
And they're like,
is that not the best fog of all time in Commander? It's so good.
And of course, your green deck's probably just going to do something crazy after that. But yeah, I mean, it's like Settle, where you can get them caught, where you're like, oh yeah, do your crazy combo. Oh yeah, I'll just settle the wreckage.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, I guess that sucks. You know, like, obviously, this isn't like Settle where their cards are going to be gone. But, I mean, even just having one turn where you fog them and then, I don't know, let's say you get 10 to 15 lands out of your deck. I mean,
That's...
right? Okay, I play this in my mono green deck.
So
I don't know, get 25 forests out of my deck. I'll Genesis Wave for my library and then probably hit some cards that have haste and you're just dead.
Right. And
I mean, that's it, right? Like,
yeah, pretty much. And if you've got a high volume of basics in your deck, all of a sudden the chances of you drawing a land is dropped almost like so dramatically.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's funny. I generally don't think of deck thinning as being that big of a factor in most games. Like, when people are like, yeah, I'm going to crack my Evolving Wilds to thin my deck. Like, no, you're cracking your Evolving Wilds to go fetch a basic land. That's all you're doing. But this, when you can grab, like you're saying, 15, even 20 lands and just dump them onto the battlefield for 5 mana, like, okay, that's deck thinning.
Yeah. Like, this card could win the game. This card could be a game where you just stop your opponent. Whoever is just trying to kill you, you stop everything they're doing. If the other 2 people are tapped out, if it gets back to you, if you're next in line, then man, you get to untap with like, 30 mana, or 20 mana, and then you're just sitting there like, okay, how do I kill the person who tried to kill me so I can get them out of the game? You know what I mean? And
right. Could you imagine if you have landfall triggers in that deck?
Oh, wow. Yeah,
I mean,
Lotus Cobras and...
Yep.
Or you get the double landfall trigger, whatever the legendary one is. I can't remember what that one is. It has reach. It's a 5/7. 6 mana. I don't know. But you can play that and then get double triggers. Like, yeah. There's your Valakut Exploration kind of just goes off and kills them.
Yeah, your Valakut Exploration just mows down the whole table. It's pretty cool.
Pretty nuts. Yeah, because you don't even have to do this to someone who's attacking you. You can just... Oh, no, it is attacking. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, they have to be aimed at you.
I thought it was just attacking, because I can guarantee you if it was just attacking, this card would actually probably be a little bit more messed up, right?
Yeah, if it was all attacking creatures, get out of here. That would be nuts. But no, it's... Yeah, they have to be attacking you. But in the situation where you want to play this is just like you were saying, when the tokens player gets off an infinite combo, or somebody's been sitting on a Scoot Swarm for 10 turns, and like, well, I'm going to send a billion creatures at you. It's like, are you sure? You sure you want to do that? I mean, it's great. I love it.
Yeah, you're going to be wondering now, even if they don't have white in their deck, if you want to attack with everyone, because they could just fog you and get all the lands out of their deck, and then you're not feeling so hot about that.
Yeah. So, like, when I read this, I was like, I think this might be the best fog. And that's including Obscuring Haze, which is just a fog that's free if you have your commander. Like, I think Jahir's Respite is up there. Like,
it's definitely up there, yeah. I would say it's up there. It's a really... I expected to probably start to see play in a lot of decks. And it's just like this weird control card. It's just a weird... It's just a powerful green card. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
Our next card is actually pretty interesting. It's a returning mechanic. Luckily not the standard. So we have... What is this?
Illithid.
Illithid Harvester. 4 colorless and a blue 4/4. It's a horror. Whenever this card enters the battlefield, turn any number of target tapped non-token creatures face down. They're 2/2 horrors, but it has the ability Adventure. We're back. Plant Tadpole. X 2 blue. Tap X target creatures. They don't untap during the next controller's untap step. So For anybody who's been playing as long as me and HamHocks, this card turns all your cards into morphs.
Yes.
It turns them into 2/2s with literal no abilities. Just some 2/2 cards just hanging out. Ham, I actually think this card's pretty good. It's kind of a board wipe in a weird way.
Kinda. It's kind of a roundabout board wipe. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah.
When I saw this card, I had two very simple, two very different reactions. One, holy crap, they printed Adventures again. There's no way, I can't believe they're doing this. Followed by, wait a minute, they reprinted Weaver of Lies. Sweet, let's go. Because Weaver of Lies is actually a morph creature that when it's turned face up, you can flip any number of creatures face down.
Man, is that from Onslaught or like
It is.
it's
I
from
think
Onslaught
Legion
block,
was when it
right?
was printed, but yeah, it was from the Onslaught block. Yeah.
I remember now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so like I had a morph deck that leveraged, like I played a lot of morph back in the day. It was just fun, and so it's like, oh, I get to reload my willbenders. Yeah, I don't mind if I do.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking of Ixidor because is it Ixidor or there's Dream Chisel? One of those makes your morphs cost less, but then
Yes.
one of them also pumps up the creatures that are face down, so you
Yep.
can make like this weird face down deck. This card is just freaking silly.
Yep. Isidore gave all the face down creatures +1/+1, turned them into 3/3s, and then the Dream Chisel made all your morph creature spells cost less, and
Yeah.
Isidore had the ability where you could pay 2 into blue and turn any creature face up.
Yeah, so you can actually kind of like you can have like this weird. This is just for the morphs out there. This is for the Power Rangers out there
Yeah.
that are just gonna turn their own creatures into 2/2s and then use their Ixidor to turn them face up and get more morph value. This is awesome. This card's from like 2002, man. What's this
Right?
doing in here?
I have no
Like,
idea. Well,
straight
and it's
up.
weird too because it's like it's got an adventure, so it's like, okay, so it's from it's from 2020, but they're morphing. What? Like it's
Oh,
very
this
weird,
card
and I
is
love it.
just all over. I like it. It's a fun card. The artwork's kind of like creepy. Definitely has some like Animorph vibes to it.
Oh, I
For
suppose it does,
anybody who
yeah.
used to read those fine books back in my day. Anyways, let's get out of the boomer age. This card's awesome. Adventures is
like this one.
busted. I think this card's really sweet. I mean, you can set it up to a point where like, yeah, you can just tap someone's, a bunch of people's creatures down and they don't get to untap, and then you cast this later out of the adventure and they know what's going to happen. They can't even interact with it when it's in the adventure zone. So interesting card. I don't really know how powerful it's gonna end up being in EDH, but man, I want to build an Ixidor deck right now after seeing
Right?
this and talking about you here for a bit on it.
I think I still have a couple copies. I need to find one, and yeah, exactly. I need to do the same thing because
I just want to talk about Onslaught block. But anyways,
right,
let's
dude. Oh, we'll have to. If only it wasn't so late, because I'd be totally down for broing out about Onslaught after this.
oh yeah. So our next card here, we have a really awesome one actually. It's a Mythic Planeswalker. We have Elminster, 3 colorless, white and a blue. Legendary Planeswalker Elminster, 5 loyalty starting. Whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast. Alright, hold on. Whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast for X the number of cards you looked at while scrying this way. We get to the exile zone over maybe a little bit too much lately, but this is some really cool card design right here. So +2, draw a card, you get to scry 2. Then -3, exile the top card of your library, create a number of 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature tokens with flying equal to that card's mana value. And this card can be your commander. Let's go. This card is sweet. This is awesome.
Yeah.
A scry commander. What the heck?
You got Serum Visions on a +2. You got a good -3. I mean, what? And you have a passive that makes all your spells cheaper if you're using the +1 or any other scry ability. I mean, and there's a lot of really good scry out there, because there have been plenty of cards that are like, well, we can't let you draw a card, so let's let you scry 2 instead. It's like, okay, that's fine. Like there are a lot of cards that let you do stuff like that. So I'll be shocked if an Elminster scry deck with super like powerful, like I can imagine an Elminster deck where you're like, okay, +2 Serum Visions, expropriate, like, with costing 4 less, like that's insane. Or like a 1 mana bribery at that point, like that's pretty good. You can do some pretty crazy stuff with this. So I think Elminster. Well, and on top of that, it's got access to white and blue. There are some phenomenal instants and sorceries. I mean, how big can a Starnheim Unleashed get off this guy? Like, I'm guessing pretty freaking big if you've built your deck correctly. So
Yeah, like
I
I'm
love
I'm
it.
thinking the Zendikar, the land, Seagate Restoration. You're just like you
Yes.
scry a ton, and you're probably drawing cards as well because some of those cards
Hmm.
also draw cards, or you have some planeswalkers that give you some scries, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'll just pay 3 blue, and I chained out a bunch of spells and stormed off and did some other stuff. Like this card's very like combo licious, just has like a lot of different deck types that you can kind of build with it too, because it also like wants you to play high mana cost cards because they're going to be cheaper later, and because you
Hmm.
can use the -3 to just make a bunch of 1/1 tokens, very reminiscent of like a Locust God type effect. Like it's an interesting card. I like it. I'm a big fan of it. This isn't even I'm not a fan of blue, but man, like yeah, this card's sweet. Like this card.
Well, and it's funny
Yes.
because this is like as blue as it gets. Like you
Yeah,
want to
this
be
is as
drawing
blue
cards
as
and
it
scrying.
gets.
Like this is
Oh, I
like
love drawing cards. I
right. It's
love
the
drawing cards
best.
and I love playing cards for cheaper. So this card, I don't even care that it's blue. It's not countering spells. It's not doing any of the real blue stuff. It's doing the draw the card blue stuff, and I love that.
Yeah,
That's
and
my
that's
favorite.
oh, I want to have that moment. Like this is the commander that you're playing when you have that moment when your buddies look over at you and go, "Wait a minute, how many cards are in your hands?" Like 15. Don't worry about it. Like like it's yeah, it's
Yeah, this
awesome. I
card's
love it.
it can be your commander, so
Hmm.
I think that's pretty interesting. I'm excited about it, at least like in the sense that I want to see like the decks that people actually end up brewing with it.
Hmm.
All right, our next card here we have a kind of a normal name. You don't really see this in Magic. John.
Yeah,
Hey, it's
yeah.
John. Johnny
It's
boy.
John. Hey,
Hey, John
love
likes
John. John's a
cards.
great guy.
So we have John Arenicus, Shattered One. Um, 2 colorless, blue, black, 3/3 elf wizard. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent gains control of up to 1 target creature control. Put 2 counters on it and tap it. It's goaded for the rest of the game. This creature can't be sacrificed as well. It attacks each combat if able and attacks a player other than you. Whenever a creature you own but don't control attacks, you draw a card. This card is like, this has got to be like the most suicidal card I think I've ever seen since Hatred. Since Hatred. Hatred was the original suicide black card, right? You're just like, I don't know, 19, you're dead. Just pay 19 life and just kill you. Or I guess you probably had like 12 life at that point from your Carnophages. But this
Right.
card is literally like, I don't know. Yeah, I'll give you my Toxrill. Sure, I'll draw. I guess maybe not Toxrill, but yeah, I'll give you my, I don't know. Take a card. What do you want? Just take this. It gets counters. I can't be attacked. I'll just draw some cards, but I'm helping you. This is like a
Exactly.
weird political. This is just.
Well,
These are not the
it
types of decks that I build, but I know that people
no.
have a lot of fun with these decks, right? Like this is just wacky all over the place.
Well, yeah, it gets weird too because like the deck that you want to build around this is like an aggro deck, but at the same time, you don't necessarily want to be attacking with it because you want to be handing out the threats to all your opponents. So I'm just imagining sitting on like I'm imagining like a really fast like zombie curve out or like vampires in black. I'm just imagining sitting on like a Knight of the Ebon Legion with mana up and like I'm just gonna pass. Like what? You're not attacking? No, no, no. We're good. Like because you then want to hand that to your opponent, have them attack the other people on the board. You're drawing cards while they're doing it. It's yeah,
Yeah,
it's
give
awesome.
them
Also,
cards with
notably,
downside.
notably the card draw action is not a May ability. So
Mm.
your opponents, if you get John's ability going a lot, and again, I love the fact that his name's John. It's just really anyway.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good.
If you get that ability moving, if you really get it going, you may deck out. Like that might actually be your opponent's way to deal with this, is by just attacking each other in like ineffective ways. So it's like I see you have that 0/5. I'm gonna attack this 3/3 into it all day. And it's like, yeah, you drawing cards over there, buddy? You having fun? Yeah. Um, so that could be a thing. I don't know. But the fact that the creatures gain this creature can't be sacrificed. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that is savage. because that's the way that you deal with somebody giving you something you don't want. You find a way to
Deli dispute.
sacrifice it.
Give me a deli dispute stat. I need to sack this and draw cards. I
Right,
need to get this
100%.
card off my battlefield.
Yeah, I need to get rid of this like right away, like whatever this is, and because this isn't the first time we've seen a donation style deck. I mean, there is Zedru, the Great-Hearted, who's all
Hmm.
about giving your opponent stuff, but which is funny because that card very much feels like it's funny. Zedru, when you look at it, when you read it, it's like, oh, you just want to give people stuff, but then you add in like cards with crippling downsides, and you start handing those to people, and it becomes really mean really fast. John is like, no, I'm gonna dick right away. I'm handing you stuff that you're gonna have to beat that person to death with. like, there's no even airs. Like, there's not a single air of being nice about it. No, it's all about punching. And I gotta say, it's fun, man. I love the idea behind this. Like, this is a commander. This hits the right notes for me on a commander. Like, I want to build this because it does something unique and different.
Yeah, it does something really cool. Like we've never. I mean, even though we talked about the wizard earlier before the planeswalker there,
Hmm.
where he was scrying and like that card got me excited because yeah, it's a design space. Like it's such a simple thing, and we're just messing with this design space. I'm like, wow, that's great. And this card is like kind of doing the same thing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just I don't know. I like it. I'm happy that you're happy about it because
I am.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to see you make a John deck. Yeah, we'll keep up to date with this card. I mean, I'll be interested to see what decks people put
Yeah,
together as well
I
with
might
this
have to make
one.
it happen. Yeah.
I had to make sure it wasn't like exile the top card of your library and then give it if it's a creature, give it to your opponent because I was like, well, I could just put a phage into play and they lose the game, but
Classic.
can't do that. Our next card we have Dyna Air Invoke Adept. We have a colorless blue, red, white for legendary creature human wizard 4/4 haste. You may activate abilities of other creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. Tap this card when you next activate an ability this turn by spending 4 more mana to activate it. Copy that ability. You can choose new targets. I was just scrolling through the cards and I read this and I was like, wow, that card is really good. Like, it has haste, so you can use it right away. On top of that, it gives all your other creatures a pseudo type of haste. So if they have like an activated ability, it gives them haste. So essentially, all your mana creatures are kind of like free if you can play them off of each other. Obviously, this isn't necessarily in those colors, so there's a reason for that. But if it just happens to be in your deck and you play 5 colors, then yeah, this card's kind of nutty on top of that. But the extra factor that I like on this is if you're spending mana to use an ability, and if it's 4 more mana, it's a really powerful effect. You actually get to copy it. So yeah, like let's say you already have something on the battlefield, you've got a lot of mana laying around, you play this, you activate the ability, and you can actually use this right away to copy it. You can kind of get 2 really powerful effects at once, and let's say that it's effects that target players, then you can hit 2 players at once, right?
Yeah.
I think this card, yeah, I like this card a lot, and the artwork's pretty dope.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's very powerful. Now, the only thing that I'm really like racking my brain, I have no doubt they're out there, but I'm trying to think of like the best triggered abilities or sorry, activated abilities. The best activated abilities that cost at least 4 mana. That
On creatures.
on creatures
Oh
exactly.
wait,
Like,
is it no, it's any ability. So you can have artifacts actually, right?
oh,
Because it says
true.
next time you activate an ability this turn.
Mhm.
So specifically it gives your creatures haste, but you can actually copy anything with it. So yeah, that seems pretty
Oh,
good,
oh.
right?
Okay, in the 99, you wouldn't be able to do this with her as the commander, but door to nothingness.
Oh wow, yeah, I was just talking about the 5 color deck. So you play this in your
Yeah.
5 color deck and you can you just yeah, you door them.
It's like you lose the game and you
You
also
lose
lose
the
the game.
game. Yeah. Ooh, or Golos. How about I
Oh,
just
there you
copy
go.
my Golos ability and get to cast 6 cards for free?
That's pretty gross.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, see now we're
All right,
getting
now
to
we're
some
talking.
really
Exactly.
messed
We're
up
getting somewhere.
stuff. Oh yeah. Or like
Yeah,
you have
this is
another
good.
card that puts creatures into play, you can activate it.
Mhm.
Maybe you have there's like cards that mill. maybe tap to mill. So you're just like, all right, yeah, I'll just literally mill you, both of you out for the
Yeah.
cards. I like this card. I really, when I read it, I was like, yeah, I could see this getting played a decent amount. It's in the right colors. It's in Jeskai, so
Yeah.
yeah, I think this card's pretty powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, expect to potentially see it at your kitchen table. This next card I actually like a lot. I'm not sure if I like it for just Commander. I told HamHocks this card just read like a standard, or like a modern card. I don't know, something like that. So we have Bramble, Sovereign, 2 colorless, 2 green, 4/4 Dryad. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield, you may pay a green and a colorless. If you do, that creature's controller creates a token that's a copy of that creature. What do we think about this card? Like, I think it's a pretty powerful effect even in EDH, where for the rest of the game, your creatures can cost an additional 2 and you get a copy of it.
Yeah.
Like, that seems
Well, and on
pretty
top of
good.
that, the other thing about this, I mean, yeah, that's the most kind of straightforward use for it, and that's great. Like, I mean, being able to double up on, you know, other creatures, it's just anytime you're creating a copy of something, and the fact that it only costs 2, like the idea that like, okay, if I have 9 mana lying around, which in a green deck, not hard in
Yeah,
Commander,
easy.
if I've got 9 mana lying around, I can play something like, I mean, it's just top of mind, Titan of Industry for
Yep.
7, and just pay 2 and get 2 of them. Like what?
That's almost
That's
like
incredible.
the card that's actually banned in Commander is Sylvan Primordial.
Mm,
So like, yeah, if you're copying like the Titan Industry, yeah, you're getting to blow up like 2 artifacts and enchantments, putting 2 shield counters, gaining life, maybe tokens, maybe,
yeah,
yeah,
you
just
got
a
some
lot
options.
of
Yeah,
things. Yeah, I mean, this card
yeah,
has a potential to even combo out, maybe, where if you're making some mana, putting more, a creature comes into play and then it makes more. I think this card's interesting. It definitely struck out to me just because, like, on stats, it's a good card. And in green, doubling your tokens and doing other things like that, it always seems powerful. I mean, I'm not sure how much this card gets played, but, right off the top of my head is Chariot. I mean, I'll
mm-hmm.
copy my Titan and then now I'll just attack with my Chariot and just make Titans for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's
That's
pretty
just
gnarly.
like, yeah, that seems solid, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the other thing I love is this is when the non-token creature enters the battlefield. This is not if you cast a creature spell. So if you're reanimating, you can take advantage of this. If you're cheating this in with cards like fight rigging, you can take advantage of this. Like, there's so much stuff you can do with this card. It's kind of nuts. And the other cool thing is this is whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under anyone's control. You can pay 2 and that person gets a copy of the creature. So, if you're at a table where one player is clearly taking over the game and one of your buddies is like, we just need to take them out. Okay, I'm going to play out this 5-drop. Is it cool if I get another one of those? You can just say, yeah, dude, if you're going to aim it at
Yeah,
that
take
guy,
it. I
go
got
for it.
mana open. Yeah, I left mana
Yep.
open. Player cards out. Or, oh, you got counter
Mm-hmm.
spells here. I'll just, Frilled Mystic. Let me
Oh,
just copy that and then just keep that going if I need
yeah.
to.
Like,
Like,
there's some
yeah,
cool stuff you can do with this
there's,
card. I like it a lot.
yeah, when I read it, I mean, I love green cards. I'm a huge, huge, huge green mage. So when
Mm-hmm.
I saw this, I was exactly thinking the same thing you're thinking, which is like, all right, what's the biggest dumb green thing I can make? I don't know. Like, I wish it was non-legend. I wish the token was non-legendary because you're just like, yeah, I don't know, 2 Voring Cluxes, just pain. I want you to suffer just the worst pain. Everyone must suffer the worst pain.
That would be disgusting.
But
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
that card's pretty sweet. Yeah, let us know in the comment section below if you actually think that that's another card that could get played. So moving on along here, our next card is Tasha, the Witch Queen. 3 colorless, blue, black, 4 starting loyalty. Whenever you cast a spell you don't own, create a 3/3 black demon creature token. +1, draw a card. For each opponent, exile up to 1 target instant sorcery card from that player's graveyard. Put a page counter on it, -3. You may cast a spell from among cards and exile with page counters on them without paying its mana cost. So, it's a powerful card. I feel like it's a little bit slower to kind of get going because you do have the plus, minus, so then, maybe if you minus once, I mean, it might not have as much loyalty. It can be your commander on top of that. Sorry if I did forget to mention that. For the first time, we're actually seeing a card that's It's just more design space I love seeing them go into, Ham,
Mhm.
where cards you don't own. Man, if we're talking about build around, yeah, this card's definitely a build around. You get a demon, you get to take cards from your opponent. How do you I myself don't really like to play those types of decks, not really my type of flavor, but how do you feel about it? Do you like it?
I love it. I am totally on board for stealing my opponent's stuff. I have built more decks than I can admit to, um, that are designed where the only win con is whatever you've got. That's it. Like, and I've done that, and it's actually a blast because I've pulled off combos my opponent set out to make with like it was anyway. I love it, and so when I see Tasha, the first thing I think of is cards like Siphon Insight, Hostage Taker, like, I'm trying to think of other good examples. There are a number of them. I think Mnemonic Betrayal, however you pronounce that. Um, where there are a number of cards in this color combination that steal your opponent's stuff. That is not uncommon. If only she had red in there too, because red is another color that does that quite well. Um, but you need to steal the spell first and then cast it out. But if you're relying on Tasha specifically to give you access to those cards, you're going to be disappointed, I think,
Yeah,
because
it's a
like
little
you're
too
saying,
slow.
just way too slow. Whereas, I mean, they are exiled with page counters, so if Tasha comes down, upticks, you steal a thing, and then your opponent, attacks into her, kills her. When you play her out again, if you have the mana, you can cast another spell and then make the demon. So she can like kind of protect herself a little bit almost. But the biggest thing that the biggest problem I see with Tasha is that she's a planeswalker in Commander. With how much good planeswalker removal there is out there and how easy it is to deal with planeswalkers through combat, planeswalkers tend not to survive very long or turn around the table. And so I can see Tasha, like, you're not just going to want to run Tasha out on turn 5, I don't think, in most
Yeah.
situations.
Unless
Like,
it's more
unless,
like an empty
yeah.
board because yeah, like
Hmm.
so the thing is that like when I'm seeing this, I'm immediately thinking of like the pirate. I'm so sorry I can't remember the name of it right now, but the pirate and Gonti.
Oh,
Um
Gonti's another great
yeah,
one. Yeah,
the
absolutely.
pirate that lets you cast the card from exile, like you get to take it and then
Yeah, Hostage Taker.
hostage
Love
taker.
that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there are cards, and even there's a card right now in standard that has flashback, right? And you can look at the top 3 and take a card.
Yeah.
So
Siphon
there's
Insight.
there
Yep.
are ways to set this card up, so you don't necessarily have to just rely on it. But I actually think that this is one of those instances where some of your other cards in the deck are actually better at doing what you want to be doing, and this card is
Hmm.
kind of just like a little bit of like the Elmer's glue. It's not Gorilla Glue, but it's a Elmer's glue where you don't mind it. It does a really good job at what your deck's trying to do, and it kind of helps progress your game plan. So, it's not a game-ending card, but it's an engine piece for a deck that doesn't necessarily have an engine piece now, but it
Yeah.
does with the printing
Yeah.
of this. So,
I completely agree. I think it's a cool design. I like it a lot. But like I said, I kind of wish he was Grixis because I really want to get Tybalt in here because I think they would get
yeah,
along
and they
famously.
printed the vampire that says whenever a vampire comes in, you look at the
Yep.
top card or whatever. I was really
Yeah,
high on that
Evelyn. She's
card.
got red in her
Yeah.
casting cost as well. Yep. Well, it's hybrid, but still. Yeah.
So you really could almost have like a different Grixis commander and just use these cards in your 100,
That's an
your
option. Yeah,
99, just to make
absolutely.
sure that you have more good pieces to go along with your synergy.
Yeah. That might be the way to go.
So our next card here is actually one that was right next to it. I read it when I was just looking at the cards because I was like, oh, this is just a big blue card. What does it do? I read it and it's just like this card is messed up. Um Alminster's Simulacrum, 4 colorless, 2 blue, instant for each opponent. You create a token that's a copy of up to one target creature that players control. The first time I read this, I was like, wow, that's about as close to blatant thievery as we're gonna get. And it's almost like more messed up because I'm pretty sure blatant thievery is a sorcery, if I'm not
It
mistaken.
is. It's a sorcery for 7. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sorcery for 7. This one's like, oh, end step. I guess I'll just take. You don't take them, but I guess I'll just make copies of everyone else's creatures, and then, yeah, I mean, this card. Oh, this card hurts. Oh, it's like giving me pain. I mean, I've won plenty of games with Insurrection myself, so I
Oh,
guess
sure.
I probably shouldn't be judging, but yeah, I really like this card. I expect this card to get played. It's a powerful blue spell at instant speed. Like,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, I completely agree. I think it's very powerful, and I mean, it is appropriately Elementor's simulacrum, and Elementor gives you that cost reduction every time you scry. So
Oh, and your deck
here's
probably
a
doesn't have that
big
many
dumb
creatures,
blue.
so
Yeah, I mean they fit. They fit together so perfectly. This is one of the big dumb blue things that you would put in that deck to kind of not cheat out, but to this is where you want that cost reduction. So yeah, I think it's great. I think it's just wildly powerful, and I think it's kind of neat that you create the token rather than just stealing it outright. So your opponents get to keep their stuff. You just get a copy. I think that
yeah,
actually,
they get to keep their cards still, so it's not
yeah,
that crazy, but the fact that you're still
yeah,
copying and making the thing about this card is it comes into play effects, right? So if
mm,
each individual player has their own thing, right? You're each one that's fine, but if you get to take all those and hit them at once, then you're probably going to be way ahead in that game all of a sudden, right?
oh, definitely,
Especially at end step, you get to untap. Like I said, like if you're doing, you're going to do this stuff, of course, like right before it's about to be your turn, so you do get to untap, and then yeah, that's just going to be
yeah.
really bad for your opponents.
Well, the other time to do this is when your opponents decide to attack you, especially with their commander. It's like, well, I couldn't help but notice you don't have any blockers, so I'm going to attack you. It's like, you sure about that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
that's true too. You can kind of Yeah, I mean, you can set it up to the point where you get like, I don't know, Brutal Cathar type effects
Oh my
from
goodness.
your
Yeah.
opponents, and then all of a sudden, yeah, that's oh man, this is
Yeah.
all
There could be some massive combat blowouts with this. Yeah. I think it's really cool.
yeah, that's definitely just so yeah, that card, Elementor Simulacrum, I think that card's probably gonna get played. I expect it to.
I think
Our,
you're right.
our next card is actually really cool. We have Minsk and Boo, Timeless Heroes. We have two colorless, a red and a green. It comes in with 3 starting loyalties. So we saw the creature version of Minsk. Now we have the Planeswalker version. When it enters the battlefield and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may create a 1/1 legendary Boo creature. That's great. It has trample and haste. +1, put 3 counters on it with the 1 target creature with trample or haste. -2, sack a creature. When you do, this card deals X damage to any target where X is that creature's power. If it was a hamster, you draw X cards. And it can also be your commander. So yeah, cards pretty sweet. Kind of just mainly just wanted this card as like a shout out to everyone who just really likes the characters of D&D.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, it seems okay to me. I mean, it draws cards. I like drawing cards.
yeah, I think it's fun too. Like when I first read this card, I was like, why does Boo have to die every turn? Like, what is going on with that? And then it occurred to me in Magic, the fling effect is represented by sacrificing and dealing damage equal to its power, which is what we have here. And Minsk and Boo, I mean, I don't know too much about D&D lore. That's not something that but if you've seen a picture of Minsk and Boo, you've probably seen Minsk throwing Boo saying go for the eyes, right? Like that's just that
That's
that
it.
is what
That's
they
their calling
do,
card.
right?
Yeah.
And so the idea that like, oh, he's flinging his hamster in that move that they do, in that attack. And then the fact that Boo comes back in the next turn, like you just have like so clearly Boo isn't dying in this fling. I mean, even though mechanically within Magic, yes, that is what's happening. Um, I don't know. I think it's fun. I think it's a cool design space, and I think it fits the flavor of those characters. Also, who doesn't love just a giant burly rogue with a little hamster?
That's true. I just
It's adorable.
this card just so flavorful, and yeah, once again,
Mhm.
just hitting design spaces that we don't necessarily hit. I mean, this Planeswalker makes the creature for free, no matter what. Like, you
Yeah.
get an automatic 0. It's like this card pretty much just has no matter what. You can activate this ability even if you've activated another ability. Like, this card just, it's good. I'm not
Hmm.
sure how good it is. Obviously, it's not, may not even necessarily be a card that you want as a commander because it's not like really game ending. That second
Hmm.
ability is really good though. Don't get me wrong. If it's the right creature, you can just, kind of just kill your opponent. But overall, just a very flavorful card. Definitely just wanted to go over it and kind of get it out there for those Misk and Boo fans because I've always thought it was a pretty cool character.
Absolutely.
Our next card here that we have is Ancient Brass Dragon, 5 colorless, 2 black. Flying Elder Dragon, 7/6. Whenever this card deals combat damage to a player, you roll a d20. When you do, put any number of target creature cards with total mana value X or less from the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, where X was the result. So, Ham, I mean, this card, we're reanimating.
We're reanimating. This card's my jam. I'm here for it. The fact that it's based on a d20 roll is kind of interesting. I mean, any number of target creatures with total mana value active. You had a 20 on this. I mean, you just got to Rise of the Dark Realms for punching someone for 7.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is one of those I had to reread a couple of times. Like, you get this for 7 mana. What? How? Like, this is insane. Now, there is the element of luck, but even then, if there's you mentioned Brutal Cathar earlier. Great example of just a powerful 3-drop that gives you a good effect that you want to see. If somebody has a Brutal Cathar in their graveyard, you have to roll higher than a 3 on a d20. That is not hard to do. Like, and that's kind of the fail case on this card. That said, if you do roll a 1, you feel really bad. It's like, well, I guess I'm gonna get the shambling gas back and be sad. That's the. But at the same time, even then, you're still getting something, assuming there's something, unless you're the graveyards are empty. I mean, but the graveyards have to be full. Also, notably, one call out that I just need to make, if it's not clear, it can be any graveyard. So it doesn't have to be yours. Now, you can fill yours in your deck. You can be milling yourself to make sure you got something to grab with this. But you can also put this in a deck that's milling your opponents out to make sure the graveyards are full. Like, that could be really powerful and really cool. I dig this card. I really do. It's nuts.
This card is kind of like, it's just value. Like, you can build a deck around it, or yeah, you're right. Like, you just have this in your deck, and as the game progresses, when cards die, you're just going to get those back. Or you're just like, oh, they're playing Reanimator. Let's hope that I hit something big. And I can actually just take all of their cards at once.
Oh, that would be the best case with this, where, yeah, your opponent puts like a Razaketh in their graveyard. It's like, I think I'm going to take that. Yeah. And that would feel really nice. Where, yeah, you smack them, roll higher than a 9. Like, yeah, I'm going to take your thing. I'm going to take your big Demon Lord. And I'm not going to feel bad about it. Yeah.
Do like a super mill, reanimate this to reanimate the rest of your cards. Seems pretty good too, right? You can actually... You can actually do some really crazy stuff with this card. Like, if you can get this card out early and you've milled yourself a few cards, like, you can actually just hit them, and then all of a sudden you have, like, 4 or 5 creatures out. And, yeah that could just happen just like that. I read it when I read Miss and Boo, and I really thought that the dragon deserved its time in the sun here. So,
absolutely.
Let us know what you think in the comments below on the dragon. One more thing I'll touch on real quick before we go here is the lands that got reprinted. So we pretty much have check lands, but they're check lands for opponents. So the best example that we have here right now is Bountiful Promenade. So Bountiful Promenade, when it enters the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents, and then it taps for a green and a white. So yeah, these cards are just perfect for ADH, just color fixing, and it comes in untapped.
Yeah, no, they're great. I think they are excellent. I believe they were originally printed in Battle Bond, and they're starting to appear in more and more Commander products, and I have to applaud Wizards for that, because I think they're just excellent game pieces that make Commander decks fire more smoothly, because that's one thing that I think is very important when we're trying to experience cool Magic. Our mana needs to line up. We just need to be able to fix our mana. And the fact that throughout, I mean, whenever you look at MTG Finance, the lands are almost consistently across the board, no matter what format you're looking at, the most expensive piece of, I mean, most of the time of what decks you're trying to build if you're building multicolor. And I love the fact that they're giving us a good rare cycle that fits really, really nicely in Commander. I'm glad that they're included here.
Yeah, Reflecting Pool was another land too that's actually really cool that I remember playing back in the day. That was really good with like the rainbow lands. Remember they just had one. I'm trying to remember what they were called. But they came into play tapped, and then they came in with luck counters, I believe it was, or whatever kind of counters. You can use them, and then eventually, just ran out, and it just was tapping for the basic color of itself. But Reflective Pool is actually just like a really powerful card in EDH, just because most of the time if you're playing multicolor decks, all your lands are tapping for different colors, and Reflective Pool kind of just helps you hit some of those double colors on time as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, very cool.
So yeah, definitely a lot of cool cards in this set. There's so many cards we didn't even go over.
Oh, so many.
We mostly just hit some of the things that kind of struck out to us from just like an overview here. If you yourself know about a card that you actually want to hear us talk about maybe in a future video, or if there's a card that you're excited about in this set overall that has been spoiled so far, definitely let us know in the comments below. We do actually have a tournament this coming Sunday. It is a standard event, free to play. HamHocks going to be commentating in the top 8 with John Likes Games. There are crash prizes involved. First place is $100. Other than that, you can check out all of our content below in the description, any other links as well. And we do want to thank you for making it to the end of the video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Would be greatly appreciated. And Hollywood Pizza here, HamHocks42 over there. As always, we both hope that you keep it cheesy.